You online nerds have to listen up, because we about to break this down with the kind of energy that makes the internet lose its collective mind. When it
H-1B visa, is it good or bad? Do you agree with Elon or Vivek? H-1Bs are great. It's an amazing program. The United States should utilize more of it. But there are different weird forces that are coming together now to be opposed to them because of because of the fact that no one has any actual principled ideology over anything in the United States. So tech workers are going to be asked paid about H-1Bs because they're going to say that importation of labor is going to put downward pressure on their wages, which is true to some extent. So, I mean, they can be mad about that. I mean, sure. But, I mean, the counter argument is that it also puts downward pressure on prices, which is good for consumers. And it also makes businesses more survivable, or like you can open more businesses because you've got a higher pool of labor available to you, which is good for businesses. And I think it's inarguable that comp sci degrees are already some of the most rewarded degrees that exist in society right now. Like all the data shows that. So I think that importing, like there's a huge demand for labor. I think comp sci is one of the most in-demand degrees, that the unemployment for those majors or any other major is like one of the lowest unemployment rates of the United States. So importing labor there is probably fine. But I think that tech workers are going to be mad because they feel it puts downward pressure on wages. We're mad because they don't like brown people, especially Indians. And then Trump supporters are just mad because they believe in no immigration or something. Yeah, those are the people that are against it. Some people on the left are going to be okay with it because they like immigration, or they're trying to be anti-racist, or business owners are good with it because they can hire more people, or yeah. But it's all just people looking out for their own interests, basically.
Brett would read people's comments on various issues and topics and weigh in herself. She built a huge audience in a very short space of time and has gotten really popular as a conservative online personality. Then, a few weeks ago, information started popping up suggesting that Brett was being pushed out of the company, but also Russia, obviously. A video posted to Twitter by a lad called Ian Carroll made several claims about Daily Wire and some of the alleged issues and unrest taking place at the company. Ian said a lot of things, but specifically, he had this to say about Brett. What is my voice doing?
Destiny has no idea what he's talking about with his comp sci labor. I actually know pretty precisely what I'm talking about. We looked at a lot of BLS stats. We looked at a lot of college education and unemployment stats on this. I'm pretty sure I'm right. That's why you have nothing to say in opposition to me. The reason why your brain is on this is because you've exclusively consumed news from people who think that every single comp sci graduate in the country can go and work for one of 5 major tech companies. And that if you come out of a university in St. Louis and you're not immediately being hired at $225,000 a year by Amazon, you're a failure of a human being and you have a right. You're entitled to that job. So sorry, welcome to the real world. Wake the fuck up.
And it looks like
When it comes to the H-1B visa, there's a whole lot of opinions circulating. Some loud, some quiet, but always divided. And I know you're wondering, Destiny? That Destiny, why is he getting involved with something as technical as visas and labor? Well, first, let me tell you something. Destiny knows a thing or two about the digital world and the workforce. And when he speaks, it's with that confident, almost cryptic energy of someone who's had his feet planted in the technological game for years. But before you start jumping to conclusions and running off with your little Twitter fingers, let's break down why Destiny supports the H-1B visa, his shaky alliance with Elon Musk, and the broader political implications of this debate, while also acknowledging that some of this situation's straight up messy, like trying to sort out a fight between an online streamer and a political pundit, you feel me? Now, Destiny's a sharp dude, but here's where the rubber hits the road. This man ain't dumb. He's not out here talking about the H-1B visa in some far-flung, idealistic way. He's not romanticizing immigration. He's about that pragmatic approach. And let's be honest, the H-1B visa debate, which is largely about tech labor importation, sounds like it's been hitched to every political conversation this side of the United States, as if that one thing is going to solve all the country's ills. The argument for the H-1B visa. Now, Destiny holds firm on the idea that the H-1B visa is actually a good thing for the country, especially in tech sectors. This ain't just him coming out of nowhere, flexing some unearned political stance. Nah, he's got some statistics on his side. When you look at how the H-1B system is utilized, it's pretty clear that tech companies are bringing in highly skilled workers, specifically in the STEM fields, because there's a real demand for these positions. And while some might argue that the importation of labor is going to drive wages down for American workers, Destiny's like, cool, but what about the consumer side of things? Lower labor costs mean lower prices. You know, the regular folk that need affordable products and services. Also, these labor imports are keeping businesses competitive, which is good for the economy in the long run. But wait, the plot thickens. Here's where the complexity of it all kicks in. It's easy to play armchair critic, saying, let's keep jobs for the Americans, until you realize that the situation ain't that black and white. Let's put it this way. Imagine you're a business owner trying to build your company from scratch. Your choices are limited. Without a highly skilled workforce at your disposal, growth becomes more of a fantasy than a reality. The H-1B visa helps businesses by widening the talent pool and making survival easier. There's also the argument that, at least in tech, unemployment rates for computer science majors are pretty much as low as it gets. Most people with a degree in that field are going to find employment without too much hassle. But let's be real, that's not the case for every industry. So Destiny's bringing the data, showing that H-1B workers are filling critical gaps that would otherwise leave businesses and industries scrambling. Then we got to talk about Destiny's somewhat interesting relationship with Elon Musk. Yeah, you read that right. Destiny's on board with Elon's view, at least when it comes to the labor force and immigration. Now, you might think, how in the world does Destiny find common ground with Musk? After all, Elon's known for being a straight shooter, often with more than a touch of controversy in his statements. Destiny, though, sees eye to eye with Elon on a crucial issue. Tech innovation needs to be fueled by talent, and talent sometimes comes from places beyond the American border. Now, let's be clear, Destiny doesn't blindly follow Musk. But on this particular issue, he aligns with Elon's vision of encouraging the free flow of talent into the U.S., which isn't surprising if you take a moment to think about the tech companies and how they've boomed in the past decade. That talent pool that tech companies need, it's been filled by immigrants, many of them coming through programs like H-1B. Now, on the flip side, you've got the critics, and they're coming from all sides. First, you've got the Trump supporters. We all know these folks don't exactly have a soft spot for immigration in general. For them, the idea of importing workers, especially in the tech field, doesn't sit right. In their eyes, it's an outright rejection of their ideal version of America. They argue that U.S. companies should prioritize American workers first and foremost. Fair point, sure, but as Destiny points out, the argument is often rooted in nationalistic pride, not necessarily sound economic policy. Then, you've got the tech workers. Some of them are upset about the influx of foreign labor through the H-1B visa, and it's no surprise why. These are folks who've spent years building their careers in a competitive field. They look at these H-1B workers and think, hey, are we getting undercut here? And you can understand why they'd feel that way. The pressure to keep wages high, to protect the value of their labor, is real. But again, Destiny comes back with the argument that it's not all bad. For one, more workers can create more innovation, which in turn can create more job opportunities. The downside to that, however, is that as companies become more competitive, wages might face downward pressure. Destiny's not blind to this, but his bigger picture perspective says it balances out in the long run. Here's the thing though, Destiny's point about the contradictions of the debate is spot on. There's no ideological consistency. There's no unified stance that's rooted in a coherent principle. Instead, this issue has become a bargaining chip for political players with their own selfish agendas. It's about keeping wages high for American workers, keeping companies profitable, promoting innovation, and above all, appeasing voter bases. That's the ugly truth about the whole immigration debate when it comes to tech labor. Is the H-1B visa a good or bad program? Like everything in life, the answer ain't so simple. If you're a business owner, it's a tool for growth and survival. If you're a tech worker who fears your wages might take a hit, it's a problem. If you're a nationalist who believes America should come first, it's a non-starter. And if you're someone like Destiny, who's looking at the big picture, it's a nuanced issue. The labor force in the U.S. needs to stay competitive, and that means sometimes looking beyond the borders to fill those gaps. It's about finding that balance between protecting local labor and ensuring that businesses don't get left behind in the global economy. In conclusion, Destiny's argument is a tough pill for many to swallow. He's not sugarcoating things or pretending everything is rainbows and unicorns. It's messy, it's contradictory, but at the end of the day, he's choosing to focus on the real-world impact of the H-1B visa. It's not just about some abstract political ideology. It's about making sure businesses thrive, consumers get fair prices, and the workforce remains competitive. The H-1B visa might not be perfect, but in this world of globalized economies and tech innovation, it's a tool we can't afford to throw away.